What's going on, good people? I've already seen people commenting. This is great. This is the beauty. Can I just say this? It's so good to see everybody. It's so good to see. I see everybody. Tony, I see you. Anna Redding, I see you on Periscope, right? Tony, I see you. Marsha Ann, I see you. It is so good to see everybody. I want to say this. LinkedIn, I see you, Kemi. I see you already right there. Keisha Martin, I see you. My man Ron Foster, Tamar, I see you. John Williams. I want to say what's up to everybody. Can I just say this? It's a beautiful day. Like it is a beautiful day, and it's a beautiful day because we are all here. We're blessed to be here. And it's a beautiful day because I see my man Dennis Howard from Jamaica. I see my sis Janie Lacey, right? But I see so many great folks. And I just want to say that it has been a blessing to do these lockdown sessions. Believe it or not, this is lockdown session number 8. We've already had, already had 7 sessions. This is session 8. And this is one that I'm super excited about because this is a continuation from the episode we did. So this is 2 episodes back when we actually talked about Facebook ads and LinkedIn ads and, Instagram ads. And a big topic that came out of that conversation was, okay, how do we create content, right? So our last session, session 7, which was phenomenal, we talked about how to create content, right? Content strategy. And then the biggest question that came out of how to create content was, how can we create more compelling video and tell our story on video? So this is exactly what this session is about. Now, before we get started, I always like to check in to make sure. Gina's like, I love the energy. Gina, I tell you what, Gina, it's because I drink a bottle of Pinot Grigio right before these. No. I wish I did. I might as well. Like, actually, we should do one of these, Gina. We should do one of these where we just come on and drink wine. If you think that's a good idea, let me know in the comments. But I always like to know where everybody is watching from, right? And of course, I'm always looking for Jamaica here. But right now, let me know where you are watching from. I always love to see this. Let me see. I've already seen Jamaica. Oh, my sis Evita, she's in for the wine. That's what I'm talking about. All right, wine next time. She said it. That's it. All right, I see St. Louis in the house. Christy says she wants vodka. That's better. My sister Jennifer Dixon, I see you. All right. Where we at? I see Jersey. I see DC. I see East London. That's what I like. My sister Sarita. What's up, Sarita? Right? From Brooklyn. Can I say this? I've got to say this right now. And actually, I have to say this because I see my sister Sarita. While everybody, 2 things that I want to talk about before we start, but I'm going to keep Sarita on the screen because I have a connection with Sarita that I think a lot of us have a connection with. And I have a question for everybody. So here's my question right now, okay? My question is this, do you know who this person is? Do you know who this is? Now, clearly, I put the name at the top, but do you know who this is? So I single out Sarita because Sarita and I have this connection with this gentleman. But do you know who this is? And the reason why I think it's very important for us to spend at least a moment on this person is because it is in part because of this person that we are all having this conversation. And I also know that we have a big audience that watches from the Caribbean, a big audience that watches from the UK, a big audience that watches from West Africa. And you may not exactly know who this is, but right here, she said it. And Danny right here says he's iconic. Let me spend just a quick moment. This is Earl Graves Sr. All right. Earl Graves Sr. just passed away on April 6th. He was the founder of Black Enterprise, more than just a magazine. It was a massive company. But I want to just spend a moment to tell you what he meant to me and why I believe we all need to know and be aware of who he is. So when I grew up, right, I never once saw someone on the cover of a magazine who I actually wanted, who I actually thought I could become, right? And the reason why I mention this, and I think this is very important, is because I firmly believe that children, they'll be what they see. They'll be what they see. You put violence in front of them, they'll be violent, right? You put drugs in front of them, they're going to grow up in that culture. You put sports in front of them, they're going to grow up in that sports culture, right? They'll be what they see. For me, I was always curious about business, right? I'm telling you, I had the nerdiest habit back in high school. I used to write business plans in high school. And I, to this day, say I had the first idea for a Taco Bell, Pizza Hut, and Kentucky Fried Chicken drive-through. That was me. That was me back in the 80s. That was me, okay? But the point here is that I believe that will be what we see. I never saw anyone on the cover of a magazine who I thought I could become until Black Enterprise, until Earl Graves. Black Enterprise, cover after cover after cover, showcased Black talent, both men and women who were successful in business. I can't tell you how much that meant to me. And I think there's a lot of people watching this right now who that meant a lot to them as well. And one of the things that I find to be fascinating, and this is why you never know what fate has for you. You never know what fate has for you, is not only did I love this magazine, but I also watched the Black Enterprise TV show called Our World, first hosted by Ed Gordon, then hosted by Mark Lamont Hill. And the Our World TV show was syndicated, and it was about business, it was about entertainment, it was about politics. And as fate would have it, I ended up hosting Our World for Black Enterprise for 3 series right before I moved out here to London. Out of every television project I've been doing television for 10 years. I will say that I am more proud of my work with Black Enterprise than anything else I've done. And I'm more proud of the family that I met through Black Enterprise, like my sister Rita. And I just want to say to Earl Graves and his family, thank you. You changed my life. You changed my life. And it's in part because of you that I feel like I've had, a decent career, and I'll continue to fight hard. And I think there's also a great lesson here for everyone, especially as we're about to talk about social media content. And we're going to talk about video. This is why you have to show up. You have to show up because there's someone out there that it might be your same ethnicity, right? It might be the same gender. It might be the same age. It might be someone who has the same difficulties, the same challenges, but you have to show up because when you show up, you inspire. And that's exactly what Earl Graves did for me. He inspired me. So God bless. Thank you very much. I wanted to make sure that I spent a second talking about my man there. Next, real quick, before we get going, I want to mention something that I've seen happen a lot. So Lockdown Live is about the fabulous panelists that we have, right? We have incredible panelists. They come on, they feed us, which is great. But I think a lot of us also love the Let's Connect, right? I've started this whole Let's Connect where in the comments, if you want to learn the skill from someone, you can enter hashtag Let's Connect and you can connect with them. And here's what I found to be fascinating is over the last 7 sessions, right, that I've looked at is we'll do Let's Connect every other session. And I've noticed that there are anywhere from 50 to 100 people who are connecting with each other. 50 to 100 people every session, every time we do this, they're connecting with each other to the point where I've had several people reach out to me and say, Paul, I saw somebody on Facebook that needs help with social media branding. I can help them with that. Or I see somebody who, needs help with whatever. This has got me thinking, and I have an idea, right? So we're going to take Let's Connect to the next level. All right, here we go. My man Brian is like, he loves Let's Connect. All right, Brian. All right, you guys stay with me. LinkedIn, stay with me on this. We're going to take Let's Connect to the next level. Here's what we're going to do. All right. What we're going to do is we're going to launch this. All right. Here's what I figured out. What I figured out is everyone who wants to connect with someone else is interested primarily in one of three things. Either A, they're just kind and they want to share their expertise, right? Maybe you've spent 10 years in public speaking and you want to just share your public speaking skills. Or category number two, you could be someone who is entering a new category, right? Maybe, you want to be a social media strategist, right? You're working full-time for someone else, but you want to be a social media strategist and you want to gain experience, which I actually think is a really smart idea. When I launched my matchmaking business 10 years ago, I spent the first 6 months just pro bono, right? Just pro bono, just so I can build up my skill. So I think that's smart to build up your skill. That's number two. Or number three is there's a lot of people out here who actually want to get jobs, and they know that working for someone, volunteering at first, is a smart way to then get recruited into the company, right? I've had 3 assistants who started as pro bono interns who I eventually hired on. So it's typically one of these 3 categories that people want to give their assistance. So here's what I'm going to do. My wife and I are going to do this. We're going to do this for the next 4 weeks, right? And see how this works. If you are one of those 3, you want to give your skills away, whether it be 1 hour or more, I want you to go to this bit.ly link, Better Skillshare. It's a Google Doc form. I want you to fill out the form. Indicate, and all the questions are there. What's your skill? How many years have you been doing the skill, etc. And then starting next week, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start blasting out this list. Now, keep in mind, I'm going to keep your information private, by the way, but I'm going to blast out this list to entrepreneurs all over the world, right? Entrepreneurs that need your help. And I'm going to allow them to indicate who they want to work with, right? The point here is that I'm trying to figure out more ways to connect us all so we can expand our network, we can develop more skill, and we can get more people with jobs later down the line. So this is the experiment. It's called Skillshare. What do we think? My sis Kim says she likes it. She says she likes it. All right. My sis Melissa says this is very smart. Marie Smith she's on it. She said, I did this 5 years ago. I did. This is just an upgraded version of it. Did it 5 years ago. It worked very well. My sis Tanny said, still matchmaking. That's what it's about. A matter of fact, a lot of people use the guise of, let me help you with your business, so they could really help you with your business, if you know what I mean. So, all right. A lot of people said they love the idea. All right, I'll go for it. All right. That's what I'm saying. I love it. Let's do it. I'm trying to connect more people. My sis Danielle says she's brilliant. Mad respect to my sis Danielle in Jersey. All right. Let me see what LinkedIn says real quick. Because LinkedIn, sometimes it gives me a different vibe from Facebook. Let me see what LinkedIn is saying. All right. My man, Ron Foster, says it's awesome. Right. Marlo says it's a dope idea. Judah says it's great. Natasha says it's a great idea. All right. Don Napoleon is just laughing at me in DC. I love you, Don. All right. So let's get going, guys. Let's get going. Okay. So now here's what I want everybody to do real quick. I see Kit is ready. I see David is ready. Look at this. Brian doesn't mess around. Brian's already signed up. That's what I'm saying, Brian. Brian's not messing around. Okay. So what I'm going to do now is let's bring on our guests. I'm going to bring them on one by one. And I want to start with my man, Kit Peng. All right. Now, first, I saw somebody say, what are we even talking about today? Marie's like, what's the topic? What are we talking about? Nothing. We're talking about drinking wine. No. Here's what we're talking about today. What we're talking about today is how to strengthen your brand, how to strengthen your business, but to do it through strengthening your storytelling. How can you be more persuasive, right? How can you be more even, I'll say, how can you influence even more, right? When you are using video. And this is very, very important because we see that social media consumption is up right now. Video consumption is way up right now. but a lot of us are not using video as well or as efficient or as effective as we could. So what I've done is I have gathered 3 of literally my favorites, right? Among my favorites, who I believe are extraordinary in how should I say, in storytelling, right? On video. All right. So that's the topic for you. So what I want to do first is I want to bring on Kit. Okay, I want to bring on Kit. So now we'll spend some one-on-one time with Kit, with David, and then Terry, and then we'll jump on with everyone. All right. So here's what I love about Kit. Kit is the founder of Boston Speaks, right? I also love that he works with, I think, type A, hard charging, right? NFL athletes, works with Harvard Business School students, right? Works with executives. And what I like about that is I like the fact that he's basically taking people who really need to be performing at the top of their game. They need to be at kind of world-class performance, and he's getting them there. Also, to be quite honest, I think he's one of the best personalities just from messaging back and forth with him. Like, his personality is perfect for this. Without further ado, big round of applause for my man, Kit Peng. Here he goes. Here he goes. Kit.
Hey, Paul, thank you so much for having me. That was one of the best introductions ever. Thank you.
All right, one of the best. Okay, I'll take that. I'll take that.
Actually, I want to turn it to you real quick, and I want to see if your audience agrees with me. For those who were here for the first 10 minutes, when Paul was talking about Earl Graves, there was a moment when Paul was looking into the camera, and I just felt it. It was like you felt it and I felt it. If you felt it, type in yes in the chat, because there was this one moment. It was like 10 seconds. You were like, "Oh, thank you so much." And you know what that moment felt? It felt truly authentic. So I wanted to say thank you for sharing that. And because we're talking about branding, storytelling, that authenticity piece, no matter if it's in person, on camera, it's something that we can feel across the globe, wherever we are. So I just want to say thank you. And I truly mean that. And it was so good. I looked him up. I was Black Enterprise. And then I got on Twitter. Magic Johnson said this. He's like, rest in peace, Earl Graves. He and him own a Pepsi bottling franchise in Washington, D.C. And he was just saying thank you, all of that. And I read a lot more other things too. But I was like, oh man, so that's so good. I got to look that up.
Wow. I love that, that you felt that. It was authentic. A matter of fact, there was one moment where I was like, Paul, don't cry. Bring it in. Don't cry. But man, Kit, I tell you what, I mean, I also think that suggests how much of a expert you are in this space, right? Because you've analytically dissected that and pulled that as a moment of authenticity. And one of the biggest questions that I have right out the gate for you is, so many of us talk about Harvard Business School as the elite of the elite, right? And I'm just curious to find out from you, what do you notice to be a top challenge that Harvard Business School students have when it comes to, storytelling and conveying authenticity? And then what have you done strategically to help them overcome that?
Yeah, and thank you for asking that. When it comes to, you talked about type A, certain type of people, okay? And this is something that one of the biggest challenges when it comes to communication or how we work, when it comes to people who are really good at that game, and I'm looking at some of you in the audience, I know you're really good at what you're doing. It's the problem of perfection. If you know what I mean, sometimes when we're trying to be too perfect, we want to get everything right. That means that we're saying, if we go on camera, oh, I have the story prepared, but am I telling it the right way? Oh, I've done this presentation, not 10 times, but I practiced it 100 times. Sometimes that perfection might be holding us back for the things that, like Paul's moment, the authenticity. No matter how much you practice that is something that you can only get in the moment. And so if you want to strive to be better, what do you want to get? You want more of those moments. Do you know why you want more of those moments? It's because it makes you feel alive. I'm sure when Paul is going on every single time, he loves these lockdown lives because he feels alive. Only when we are practicing and we're getting a routine, and when we don't feel alive, what happens when you don't feel alive? You want to quit your job. It's not as fun anymore. So that's why when you are speaking on stage or on camera, which is a stage to everyone nowadays, how alive do you actually feel, right?
Yeah, well said. Well said. And you know what's interesting is I've never looked at it that way, but that makes complete sense. You know, it was that moment that you were talking about. That's when I felt most alive.
Yeah. And can I ask you something? Do you know why they brought me into Harvard Business School? Here's the number one problem. At Harvard Business School, I'm not sure if anyone of you know this, but whenever people on classes, it's 50% of the grade they have to speak up. And because it's 50%, they feel like, you know, when you are in a classroom of like, you know, whatever, 100 students, sometimes it's, you know, it's actually pretty scary when you got like all your people like, how dumb do I sound? How smart do I sound? But 50% of your grade is to try to speak up. And so in those moments, they feel like they have to be the best. How vulnerable can they be, right? What if I mess up in front of all these people? And they lose that authenticity side. It's kind of like driving in the empty parking lot. I was 12 and my dad was like, son, we're waking up every single Saturday, going to the empty parking lot. And he said, when we got in, he was like, go crazy, do all your 360s, press the brake so many times. And because I was able to experiment, that's the part that made me alive. Here's the thing. I never did a 360 in real life. I don't think ever. When it comes to speaking or storytelling, you need more of those moments where you can experiment in front of people by yourself. Because if it's too high stakes, you're gonna be like, I can't pull that off right now.
Yeah. That's true. That's true. Well, I'll tell you what, Kit, thank you very much. We'll bring you back when we open up the panel. But that was one of those where I've already registered that, right? Moments where you feel alive. So thank you very much for that. So everybody say, Kit, we'll say it a little bit. So there goes Kit. Next up, I want to bring on my man, David McQueen. Now, I want to brag on David for just a second. I think that actually, you tell me, is it okay to be almost, I want to say almost envious, right? And here's what I mean by almost envious is that David has the voice that I want, right? If you could say, Paul, if you could change up your voice, you could have anybody's voice in the world, right? Tell me, actually, this is a good question for you, right? If you could have, I'm curious, everybody right now, LinkedIn, everybody, if you could have anyone's voice in the world, whose voice would you have, right? Whose voice would you have? Like, would you want to sing like Beyonce? Would you want to have like oratory, like Al Sharpton? Like, whose voice would you want to have? I'm just curious to see whose voice you would want to have. But let me answer the question for you. I would like to have David McQueen's voice. I think his pacing is perfect. His tone is perfect. I think the intonation is perfect to the point where it's fascinating. I went last night and I watched a podcast interview of his. I watched 3 speeches of his. And what I found to be fascinating is he delivered consistently in all of them. You know how some people, Donald Trump likes to tell everybody that they have low energy. You know what I mean? But you know how sometimes you get in an interview and you see somebody like they just the energy. I'm telling you, David is consistent. But that being said, I just this is whose voice I would like to have. Here we go. Everybody's gonna be like, "What? How does David sound?" All right, my man, David McQueen.
I was so tempted to go and get some helium and just have a quick sip of it before I came on. But thank you, Paul. Really humbled by that. Thank you for that introduction. I really am.
David, you really should have come on like, "Hi, everybody."
No, it was a real pleasure. And it's quite interesting, Paul, that you raised that. There are a number of people who try to sound like someone else. And I think your voice is fascinating as it is. I'm just leaving that there. But it's amazing how a lot of people do feel under pressure to sound like someone else. But I think when you find the soul of your voice, I think there is a I think it's Aboriginal folklore where they say your voice comes from the three brains: your stomach, your heart, and your head. And when you're in tune with all three of those, that's when you find your true voice. And so for me, whenever I'm speaking and serving my audiences, it's coming from my stomach, my heart, and my brain. And that's 100% who I am.
Oh, wow. Look at this. See, I can just sit, David, can you read me a bedtime story? All right. Seriously, I need your help. I need your help. So thank you.
Yes. It's a pleasure.
I tell you, I mean, right away, I am curious about how you've developed this, right? And I know that you work with a lot of executives. I'm assuming that having more authority, right, in the voice, right? Finding your voice, as you just mentioned, is something that a lot of executives are looking for and they're searching for.
Yes.
What have you noticed to be the most effective strategy that you've given to help someone find their voice?
Okay. Well, there are three things that stand out for me that are really important. And the first one is just treating your body like an instrument. So a lot of people don't even really think about their posture whether they're sitting or standing. Your posture is really important because your body is an instrument. That's how you send out. That's how you communicate with individuals. The second one for me, which is really important, is getting people to learn that they need to breathe from their diaphragm. So many times people are nervous and they get really caught up because they're breathing from their shoulders and apart from their diaphragm. But when you think about really good singers, I used to sing gospel back in the day, but we'll come back to that. When you think about swimmers, athletes, actors, they all focus on breathing from their diaphragm. And then the third part, it really is just about being yourself. And whether I'm working with executives or whether I'm working with individuals who just want to be able to speak, I always get them aligned with those three key points. And then we do vocal exercises. I teach them how to breathe. I teach them how to be in the moment. I teach them how to smile. And like as you just said just now, I think that a lot of people get really hung up. And it's really interesting. You made the point about the bedtime story. I said, imagine you were telling this corporate report to your 7-year-old child who has no understanding of all the big words that you use, but you really want them to understand it. Let me hear that voice. And all of a sudden you can hear the passion. You can hear the energy. You can hear the realness. And one of the things I realized when I give that bedtime story, it triggers for a lot of people when they were told stories in school or by parents or by family. And all of a sudden they feel that energy again, and then they start to use it and they start to communicate with people with that same kind of passion. So for me, those three things: learn how to get the right posture, learn how to breathe well, and then just come from a place of realness. Who is you? Not anybody else, but who you are.
Okay. I think, sit more erect. I think that's the key. This is the key. I can get that nice David voice if I just. All right, here we go. But now, thank you, David. I mean, I think, but I love that your body. It is an instrument,
yes.
Right? It is an instrument.
Yeah.
So thank you very much for that. All right. So what I'm going to do is, I see that I think Terry might be having a hard time getting on. I don't know what's going on. Maybe it's the connections in Jamaica are not the greatest. So what I'm going to do is, as soon as she's ready, I'll pull her on. But let me pull Kit on so we can get the conversation going right now.
Hey, Kit.
Hey, David.
There he is. There they go. If anyone has questions, go ahead and leave your questions now. I see actually people are everywhere right now. YouTube, Periscope, LinkedIn, and Facebook as well. So go ahead and leave your question. I want to begin with this. I want to get my question out the way first, right? Forget everybody else. No, my question is this. What have you noticed to be the difference between coaching towards the more, the storytelling, being more compelling on video versus on stage? Like, what's the difference? Because there clearly is one. So what is that difference?
Go ahead, Kit. After you, sir.
I was going to say, well, David, I want to first say, not only am I jealous of your voice, I'm jealous of your name too. David McQueen. What a name.
Doors, I can tell you.
Yeah. Paul, thank you. And for anyone that's watching on Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn, if you want Paul's voice, let him know too, because I think Paul has an amazing voice. I think he has an amazing voice. But I would say, to get back to the question, what's the difference between being in person and online? It's something called digital fluency. Okay. Why the heck do people get frustrated online? It is because the equipment, not the camera, the mic, the platform that we're using. The platform we're using now is called StreamYard. Maybe you're using Zoom. Maybe you're using some other platform. Do you know how to use that platform? Do you know how to go back from the chat to the PowerPoint? If you go on Facebook Live, do you know how to press the right certain buttons? As you can see, most of the people who are comfortable with the platform, they become more of themselves. So it's having that digital fluency in the virtual land.
Mm-hmm. I would also expand on that and add to Kit. I also think it's being very aware that when you are online, all eyes are on you. When you are delivering live, sometimes you can look out in the crowd, and no matter how good you are, somebody may be tired and they may be falling asleep or what have you. You're still telling your story, and you have a bit more time to be able to pause. So to reflect on what Kit said, I think it's really important to think about the material you're using and the platform that you're actually working with, but also recognize that that energy that you bring when you're online as well, it has to be heightened up just a notch. I remember a number of years ago, I did a TV show in the UK on Channel 4, one of our channels here. And I remember every time we did the take, they would go, right, energy number 10, energy number 10. And I'd be like, I'm tired, but they go, energy number 10, because you'll see that when it comes on live. So you have to bring a certain kind of energy when you're online as well. It's almost like an extra bit because it's not as familiar as when you're standing live. So just bring that little bit of energy. It's almost like when you finish doing your online presenting, you want to be tired. You want to be able to sit back after that story and go, oh my gosh, I need a drink and I need to sleep. That kind of energy you need to bring as well, in addition to what Kit was saying.
Okay. So now how do we, and I'm sorry, because I want to keep following up on these, and I see people, actually, you know what? I'm going to stop. Let me ask the questions from the audience first, right? So I see that there was one question that just came in from Erica Jeffers on LinkedIn, and she wants to know, how can we convey executive presence and gravitas during our presentations, but our video presentations? So if we want to really deliver authority, what do we need to be doing in our videos to deliver that authority?
I'll jump on this one first, if that's all right, Kit. So for me, I think a lot of people think that gravitas is about you having to speak in a certain way so everybody knows exactly where you're coming from with this posh voice. And I don't think it has anything to do with kind of necessarily changing your tone. For me, the first thing about gravitas is to know what you're talking about. That's it. Know your data. Make sure your data is backed up. Make sure your research or whatever you're bringing to the table is very, very, very clear. Then if you're going to be able to, you're wanting to convince individuals, a couple of things I think is really important if you want to have that executive presence is write down as many objections as you think people may have to what it is that you're saying. Write that down. Write down as many questions as you can. And if you're practicing in front of a couple of friends or people are looking at it as well, get them to ask some questions. Because when you've thought about all the objections that may come, when you start to speak, you'll speak with that gravitas. And you might even put in the speech. I know some people might have a difference of opinion on this, or some people may challenge me on this, and I've thought about this, but here's where you take it to the next level. So for me, the first thing about gravitas is not so much voice, but it's about the content that you actually have and knowing your content back to front.
Yeah, exactly. And I want to touch upon that. In addition to content, when it comes to video, I want you guys to see this right now, okay? My camera is at eye level. I'm going to put it down really quickly because, of course, I'm putting it up on a shoebox. So I want you to see right now, I'm putting my camera up right now because the computer is facing it's on the desk. But let me know, is there a difference? So if you're cooking right now, put it down and watch the screen. Can you tell the difference of when I put it back up to my eye level? Is there a difference? You let me know, okay? Just that one little change. I'm gonna put it back down again. Right, the computer's here, camera's facing up. Boom, there's your executive presence in a nutshell. That's it. That one little change can be a big difference for you. I had one client, she was a female, and she says, whenever I get into a room full of men, she hikes her chair up so it's the highest in the room or at eye level of people. She was like, how would I feel if I was this low? And I was talking to people. have to look up. It's very simple, but even if you on a phone, pop at eye level, virtually.
Yeah, brilliant. Someone just mentioned, I think it was Tanny just mentioned on Facebook. What are some exercises that we could do beforehand to elevate our energy level so that we're delivering the right level of energy during our videos?
Run on the spot. Get up and run on the spot. Honestly, that's just pure energy. Just run on the spot, do a bit of a dance, go a bit crazy. Obviously, try and make sure you're wearing clothes that don't show sweat marks or what have you. But running on the spot and being really energized just before you go there, maybe a dance, maybe listen to something really positive, that changes the whole mood. Or do some really good, like deep breaths, nice deep breaths, that actually puts you in the mood. And I always say, visualize that you are actually in that audience with those people. So it's not just you to the camera. I'm thinking right now, there's 1,000 odd people listening to me. So my energy is going to be like, right, I'm speaking to 1,000 people like I'm in a room. And I've thought about that before I've even come on. So when I come online, I'm bringing that same energy with me into the room.
Yeah, I love that, David. I think you have to, just like what Paul's doing, you just got to start moving.
David, I made it, man. I made it. I see what my energy is like in about 2 minutes. Hold on. All right, go ahead, Kit. I'll be right back.
I mean, we can even do like a dance right now.
Yeah.
Hey, did you know I used to do hip hop dancing? I used to do all the.
Oh, really?
Hey.
Okay.
I used to be a street performer. So,
okay.
Hey, Paul, I want you to answer some of your own questions too, man.
Hold on. You know what though, Kit? You can't just say I used to do hip hop dance and hold on. You gotta hit us with something real quick. You can't just say that. Hold on. David, I'm dropping our screen. Go ahead. We're going to give him at least 30 seconds, Kit.
Okay.
The best move.
Oh, man. Best moves. Take the water bottle. Pass it back to you.
Love it.
I love it. Okay. All right. So, oh man. Okay. All right. Let me ask this one question. I see Terry has joined us. So I'm going to pull Terry on in just a second. But this question has come up a couple times, and this is: should we be speaking to one person when we're on these, or are we speaking to many? Because this is a question that's come up several times. What do you think?
I will go ahead and say use people's names as much as possible, especially when it's live like that. You can see, for example, Paul does a great job of this. He's like, hey, look, Tony is saying this, the 1/3 rule, Kevin is saying this, right? Now, we can always hear people saying everyone or you. What you want to do is think of using the word you as much as possible. Of course, there's I and we, but how can you use the word you a little bit more?
I definitely like the idea of doing it as a one. I treat, even though there are many, I want to treat everybody as I'm having that conversation to that one person. Again, as Kit said, depending on what platform you're on live, it might be live streaming or blogging or doing a webinar, depending on the platform that you actually have, making it really personal with the you is quite powerful.
Yeah, there you go. All right, gentlemen, I hate to say goodbye, but I will say hello again. All right, I want to pull you off, and I want to give my sis Terry a quick second because she's ready. I see her. She's running. I see her. She's running. She's running. I can see her. She's getting ready. So I'll pull you guys right back. Everybody say, we'll see Kit and David in just a second, but I want to give a second or more than just a second to my sis, Dr. Terri-Karelle Reid, right? A big reason why I wanted to have Terry on is because when it comes to conveying, authenticity, when it comes to conveying authority, when it comes to being persuasive on video, I honestly believe that Terry is top 1% in the world. Just flat out top 1%. And that's all I have to say. I think that's all the intro you need. All right, without further ado, here's my sis.
How are you? Listen, I've been sitting here forever and I'm like, why am I not getting, I don't know what's going on. Hi to you. Hi to your LinkedIn family, your LinkedIn village, and of course, regards to Jill and the family.
Oh, thank you, Terry. Thank you, Terry. All right. So now I have to get right to it, right? Okay. I got to get right to it. This is a question, this is a question I have for you is, so you're, former Miss Jamaica World.
Like a million years ago, yes.
All right, Miss Jamaica World 1937. No, just Miss Jamaica World recently. Okay,
Right.
Miss Jamaica World recently. And what I find to be really interesting about pageants is that there's this criteria around, you have to have poise, you have to have charm, you have to have personality, right? And I know a lot of that comes natural to you. But how do you think we go about conveying, like if you're training up someone to convey that? Because these are all the secret ingredients to conveying that authenticity, right?
Absolutely.
So how do we do that?
I'm going to be very honest with you, because you actually said it. It comes natural. It comes natural to me, but it is something that can be conditioned and it can be trained. At the local level, I won Most Aware. And then when I got to Miss World and I was representing Jamaica, I ended up nailing the interview, placed in the top 15, got my stage question, and my introduction video was actually voted public vote winner for the Caribbean. So it really means that you need to be able to transcend the screen, right? And you need to be able to appeal to persons regardless of where they are geographically or what their background might be. And I will tell you, the person who trained me for this is my 89-year-old grandmother, Millicent Audrey Scott. And there are 3 things that she taught me that I would teach anybody who wants to enter a pageant or wants just to learn the art of communication. And that number 1, what she said was, it's not, and she said this every single day, it's not what you say, it is how you say it, to whom you say it, why you say it, when you say it, and where you say it. And so that really gave me the framework of consciousness. So before I even start communicating, before I jump on a video, I want to be very clear and conscious about all of those elements. And if one element is out of it, then it's off. I need to make sure that I'm very conscious about not the what, but the how, the to whom, the why, the what, the where. The second thing she taught me was that we are the full sum. We are the absolute result of the small actions that we do every single day, which is consistency. So she taught me to get up every single day. I had to read the Gleaner, which is our newspaper in Jamaica, read it out loud every single day. I had to recite random poems. My book reports had to be in the form of an oral presentation. What she was doing was teaching me commitment, consistency, and confidence. And so even if you are a little bit wary of jumping on the camera, you think video is going to be very awkward, understand that all of us started from someplace, but you have to put in the small actions every single day. And lastly, and I think one of the most important things she taught me was that your yes must be yes and your no's must be no's. You must be able to sit down with the Queen of England. I swear, this is what she used to say. You need to sit down with the Queen of England and have her understand you, but you need to also be able to sit down with a man on the corner for him to understand you. And what that taught me was clarity in communication. Very simple methods, but if those things are done every single day, you realize it becomes a part of your very being.
Terry.
What?
You could just drop off the interview now. You're done. Look.
Okay, I'm making my seconds count here. I'm making my seconds count.
You know what though? For real, you know what you should have done? You said that's number 3, and then just hang up.
Call has ended.
All right, I love it. All right, let's bring back the super panel right here.
Hi, Kit. Hi, David. Nice to meet you guys.
Hey, how you doing? Is it Terry or Terri-Karelle?
It's Terry Carrell.
Okay.
So you can call me TK. It's good. It's good.
You doctor anyway. That's easier for me.
Okay, so now, so many people are just commenting, talking about how on point you are. But I need to have some questions, guys, before it's just all my questions. So let me throw this out before we get to some more audience questions. Is there was a question earlier about length of time in videos, and I think this is a good question because social video is a different beast than on stage. So what's your thought around optimal length of time on video?
Does anybody take that, or can I jump in? So when I came on LinkedIn in May, I saw all, the LinkedIn experts and everybody on social saying, if your video is not less than 2 minutes, nobody's going to watch. And if it doesn't have captions, nobody's going to watch. And if it doesn't have the subtitles, no one's going to watch. I'm known for ignoring rules and processes. And what I've come to realize is there is value in the voice. And if there is value in the message consistently and constantly, and this is what you are known for, people no longer care. They no longer watch the clock on the side of their videos. They've already come to the table because they know you have the gems. And they know if it takes you 6 minutes, it's because you believe the message needs to be 6 minutes, but you have to work your way up to it. So for me personally, I have videos, all kinds of lengths, no subtitles, no captions, but people know that once I put up a video, they know that I'm here to speak my truth.
I'd agree. It's interesting having a 22-year-old and an 18-year-old who have a very short attention span when it comes to video. Sometimes I'm like, oh, I've got to be able to make it for them. Is it going to be like a TikTok or Vine length? And I'm like, I don't care about them. I'm going to do what it is that I've got to do. And so usually, for me, when I'm doing short snippet videos, mine tend to maximize or average around 5 minutes because I like to bring people into what it is that I'm going to say. And then give them a sense of what I want them to go away and think about afterwards. So 5 for them, but after, if I'm doing podcasts, if I'm doing longer pieces, then it can be slightly longer. But I never restrict myself because to me it's more about the message that you've got to get out. So no matter how long it's going to take, that's what's really important to me.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I would say I would agree with you. I think we all have heard of this. Your vibe attracts your tribe. Right? And if you have David's vibe, Terri-Karelle's vibe, Paul's vibe, people would just, I'm saying this to all of you, people would just want to watch you guys forever. It's like right now we're on LinkedIn and Facebook and Twitter and wherever Paul is putting this out there. We've been on for around like 47 minutes now, right? Yeah. And there's people that's been tuning in for the whole entire time. So it's really your vibe at the end of the day will attract your tribe.
Your vibe too, Kit. Do not exclude yourself from that while you're mentioning us. Put that humble bag away and put your name there.
That's what I'm saying. Kit, nobody has moves like you, Kit.
Right?
No, you guys got better moves than I guarantee it.
But I just want to endorse that. What I find fascinating too is so Kit mentions 47 minutes. So many people said, Paul, like if you don't do an hour of this, only do 20 minutes, only do 30 minutes. Right now, we literally have more people watching at the 47-minute mark than we did right at the jump, and the audience stays the full time. If I said, hey, who wants to stay over an hour? Let's watch with the audience. Who wants to stay over an hour?
Extra time.
Who wants to see Kit dance more right now? But so, all right, let me throw this out too. Let me throw this out because I think that with video, there's a lot of conversation, especially about 2 years ago, on the importance of lighting and the importance of sound and the importance of and I believe that you all are going to tell me, Paul, content trumps it all. But what do you believe is second to the content? Like what is number 2? What's the close number 2 to creating video that is compelling? For example, I remember a mentor telling me the importance of making sure that you are endorsed with your background. But this was a few years ago where you saw every I
don't have bookshelves. I don't have like books and green plants falling on the side like everyone else.
This is what I'm saying. But you know how everybody's got that, like, let me show you my whole, So what do you believe is the second that we need? Or do we even need a second?
Second for me is sound. That's it. Get yourself a very good microphone so people can hear what you're saying clearly. Make sure there is enunciation so your messages are really clear. Yes, you can get the lighting. I'm sitting in my office now and I've got the natural light of outside coming straight onto my face, so I don't need the ring lights and all the rest of it. But what's most important for me and what will keep me listening to any video, because sometimes I may have a video playing and I might just be washing the dishes or doing something, it's always going to be the quality of the sound. Always going to be the quality of the sound for me. Even it might sound weird, even before you think about how crisp the video is, always has got to be the sound.
For me, I absolutely agree with you. Without the sound, really, your message and your content is for naught. It's totally invalid. But what I'll be very honest is that a lot of people can use those things as an excuse, Paul. I don't have the right camera. I don't have the right background. I don't have the right location. And we focus so much on all of these other things that we make excuses for not just putting on a camera and making sure that your audio is well. Your background, any background can actually work for you. Because I started doing my videos in front of this orange wall and I just didn't think about it. I didn't care. It was just a background. It was a solid wall. And now, for example, on Instagram, most of my online community says, Terri-Karelle, when we see that video go up with that orange wall, we know that you're about to speak to us. So automatically, that has become a part of the brand, funny enough.
I love it.
Yeah.
When we see that orange wall, y'all.
The orange wall.
It's on. Oh man, that's so good. I'm with it. I used to be very conscious. A lot of folks will know this. Maybe 5 years ago, about always going up with books behind me, and I got to the point where no, it's just about me coming on and being as authentic and as raw as
relatable.
Yeah.
I think all the people with those neat books, like you see all my files are over here. That's real work, right? That's the real work. Okay, little plaque in the back. This is the office that my wife and I work from, and I generate business from here. I don't have time to. I tell you what, I don't do though. I won't wear stripes. I won't wear stripes, and I am quite conscious sometimes of making sure that if I am wearing something, I will wear black or I will wear a singular color, but I won't wear stripes. And only if I want to wind somebody up, that's when I wear polka dots.
No, but I think you bring an interesting point. Like I was listening to all of you speak, and David was saying the first thing, sound, right? And Terri-Karelle, you're saying you don't care if you have captions. It's when you go on, you come alive. And Paul, it's you're working it's going back to the basic questions of what do you want other people to say about your brand, right? The question is, well, if we know David want to focus on sound, and that's the first thing, well, yeah, that's what he finds important. If you want to show a more like personal vibe, for me, in all my videos, there's always a chance of me showing my cat tree. Somehow. So you got I'm more like informal. Some people they have the bookcase. They want to be very professional. If that's your brand, you need to shape that storytelling side of things. Yeah,
gotcha. So then let me ask this: do you believe that you should be telling different stories on different platforms? LinkedIn one thing, Facebook another thing. How do you feel about that?
No, I think your message is your message always has to come back to your core values, your consciousness, and that should be felt, that should be palpable across all platforms. The difference is how you repurpose it. So there's some videos that I can post as is, and they can overlap without any editing across all platforms. But then I also know that my audience on Twitter is different from my audience on Instagram, is different from my audience on LinkedIn. So I can even put up the same video with a different copy, different story, different caption, different length of caption. But for me, I don't try to create so much content. And let's be real, a lot of us are we're one woman teams or one man teams. We don't have a team. And so for me, it is how you can repurpose the same content you have, the same video you have, but being aware of your audiences and who is more than likely to like a different caption in comparison to a different platform.
Yeah. Terri-Karelle, I'm going to agree and disagree with you. Okay. I'm going to argue a little bit now.
Ooh.
I think when you have the bandwidth, when it's just, for example, when you're by yourself, it's hard to create different, content for different platforms.
Right.
But if we're looking at different platforms, we're kind of saying we're going into a competition. Do we know the regulations for this competition? Because LinkedIn has different rules than Facebook. Facebook has different engagement rules than Instagram. So do we understand, like back to what you're saying, do we understand our audience? Maybe the business side of storytelling will hit a lot more on LinkedIn because it's a business side of audience. If we do the same thing on Facebook, yeah, it depends on the audience. But when people go into Facebook, they're not primed to think business, business, business.
I think for me, my belief is that the content that I'm putting out and that I firmly believe in, I will basically put it on all. My primary number one is to do it on LinkedIn. That's where my largest audience is. It's is executive decision makers. But I also have a similar audience on Twitter. I have a similar audience on Instagram. I have a similar audience on Facebook. And the core of what I talk about around leadership and communication is more or less the same. Yes, there may be some slight tweaks. Obviously, you've got to do a portrait if you're going to go on Instagram and landscape if you're on LinkedIn, and you're thinking, why don't these guys align this stuff? And sometimes it's only that little thing I have to tweak. But again, I do agree with you. There are going to be some people who are going to repurpose things slightly differently. But for me, the amount of mental energy that it takes for me to do 3 of the same thing, I just do 1. And then, and a lot of the people who I work with, we just tend to work with 1 or 2 of those core messages and then see how it would actually work on different platforms. And sometimes we'll test it, we'll see traffic, we'll see engagement, and recognize that maybe Twitter's not for you or Instagram. So what's your main 1 or 2? And then how can you, unless you've got a really big team like Gary Vaynerchuk who can push out all this stuff, I always recommend try and stay with the main one and then see how your core message, rather than necessarily trying to change it too much, works across those different platforms.
Okay, that's fair. There have been a lot of questions around technically what do you all like to do and what you all would like to use. For example, Cassandra's asking about, mic-wise, what's being used. I see Ann Thornley Brown, shout out to JA, on LinkedIn is asking about camera features, etc. So from a technical standpoint, what are you suggesting that we use if we need to use anything?
So I'm just giving people an example. It's something that I bought on Amazon. It's an actual tripod, but it came with its own microphone. And I realized I'm trying to do it. And I realized that when I put this, whether it's in my computer or it's in my phone, the audio is ridiculously good. So I actually brought this to be able to show people, and it was not expensive. I'm so terrible at this, right? There's that. And I also, just for me, I have this other one again, something that I bought from Amazon, really, really simple. And that one allows you to actually Wi-Fi. You can control your device just with the click of a button. That's it. Like, I don't have any other super secrets. Sorry.
Kit, David, do you use anything particular? I'll just jump in real quick too, is so everybody knows, because a lot of people are saying that the sound is really good for everyone. This is my new baby right here. I really should be talking like this so I can get that nice David McQueen. David McQueen.
I gotta get me that.
This. Oh man, I love this. So this is the
Rode NT95, I think, USB.
There you go, David.
But one thing I will say, and I think as people progress, because a lot of times I think I think Kit was talking about it earlier. People just want to be perfect, and I say practice makes permanent. Just get used to practicing a lot more. And I'm sitting here in front of my MacBook, and I can tell you now, the microphone and the camera on the MacBook are incredible. Okay, yes, you'll get depth, and you can do a lot more focus with the camera, but it's amazing. I also use this really simple Samsung. My family are trying to force me to get an iPhone 11, but I use this simple Samsung.
The Samsung 10 Plus is amazing.
Exactly. So there's a lot of tools that are already built into a lot of the laptops and the phones we already have. But if you are going to get better, get a nice lavalier mic from Rode. Get a nice USB mic that you can stick in if you want to capture that depth of the voice. And that's only if you really want to take it to the next level. You can get lighting rings and all the rest of it. But to begin with, and to just get going, the stuff that we've already got sitting in our phones and in our laptops are quite powerful in and of themselves. Just make sure you're staying close enough.
Can I jump in there? David, this is this is 3 years in the UK now.
Yeah.
And I will say that, like, you just said something that I guarantee you half of every American at minimum didn't catch. What did you call this? What kind of mic do you call this?
Lavalier.
All right, Kit, what do you call this?
I'm gonna call it a lavalier now. Lapel mic.
What do you call it?
Lapel
mic.
Us too.
It's a lavalier, darling. It's a lavalier.
A lavalier. I'm gonna say that now and sound super smart.
I could put mic. Sorry. Okay.
Hook me up with my lavalier over here. Okay, so here's the thing.
You need to put that in your rider, Paul. You got to make sure now. Put it in your rider. And
yeah. and I'm gonna say, and not only should you have that, but you need to call it that, right? When you put it on. So here's the thing. Unfortunately, we're out of time, guys. I have to shut the party down, but we're gonna like, you know how you put on that like nice slow dance music at the end? We're gonna slow it down a little bit. I want to end with this question. I thought it was really interesting, David, when you mentioned, here's what I don't do. I just don't wear stripes, right? Mm-hmm. I would love to hear 2 or 3 things that you will not do, that you're conscious of not doing when you were on video, and then at least 1 thing that you're conscious of doing, right? So 2 to 3 things that you're like, no, I'm not gonna wear stripes, I'm not gonna do that. Because David, I'm with you. I'm always solid. I always say I'm gonna wear, like I'm colorful today. I'm in navy blue, So what are 2 or 3 things you will not do, and then at least 1 thing that you're conscious of doing?
Oh,
I love it. They're like,
I'm gonna go first. I've gotten into the habit of this, and the first thing that I will not do is, this might sound weird, or maybe I need to rephrase it better, but I need to clean the desktop and the browser. You see how many tabs you guys might have open? If you are going virtually on camera, okay, you're gonna mess yourself up if you have like 1,000 tabs and you're trying to go back and forth between all of them. Okay, Make it easier for yourself and not clean your. Is that you know what I mean? Clean your house virtually. I'm gonna say. I'm gonna add in one more thing, because everyone is working remotely at home now. Tell your significant others that you will be doing a meeting, so they don't pop in and get you frustrated, and you guys argue about it for the whole entire day. Yeah,
that's cool. That's so on point.
For me, something that I will not do is I will not overthink anything. I will not overthink it. I think sometimes when we overthink too much, it kind of hinders what it is, the message is. So I do not overthink. I get my subject, I get my body in terms of in my head, and I know how I'm going to close out. Things that I do consciously, I don't wear makeup. I actually, and this might just be a girl thing. Sorry, Kit. Sorry, David. But I actually don't wear makeup. I try to be as natural as possible, and I don't wear any clothes that might be too fancy or too elaborate. And the reason why I don't is because you don't want your message to be overshadowed by the look. And so in the comments, you don't want people saying, gosh, you're beautiful, your eyebrows on fleek, who did your makeup, oh, that blouse, where can I buy it? Because then you would have totally missed the mark. And so I consciously make myself natural, very relatable, and very approachable in my videos.
My eyebrows are on fleek.
Your eyebrows are on fleek, McQueen.
So when I'm doing video, the one thing I will always do is I will check my chair. So I'll always check to see that the height is okay, and I'm absolutely fine with it. And the other thing I always tend to do first, just as standards, I always check the mic levels. I'm always checking the mic levels, because for me, as I said, the sound is incredibly important to me. Mm-hmm. And it's really weird because I think about it in terms of video. The video should be first and foremost, but for me, it's always going to be the sound. So the actual sitting in the chair. And depending on who my audience is as well, I will dress accordingly. So if I know I'm going to do a corporate webinar or what have you, I will be a bit more buttoned up or what have you. As the way I'm just doing my natural vlog, I will just throw on a football shirt and still try and keep the colors really simple, but I will also dress accordingly for the actual audience.
Yeah, I love that. For me, I always ask who the audience will be, right? I always want to know who is the audience. So if I'm, going on someone's podcast, etc., and I want to know demographics, break it down, age, etc. So that way, you know what terms to use, what phrases to use, right? If it's a 40 and over crowd, I know I could talk about the Cosby Show. Or can I even talk
about the Love Boat? I don't know if the Cosby Show is gonna go down very well.
But it might be problematic.
I don't Love Boat.
It's still a good show. Yeah, I'll give you that one.
But I hear you, like the Love Boat, but so it's one of these where it's very important to be conscious, for me, conscious and aware of the audience. So here's the thing. I've had several messages of people saying, Paul, let's keep going. This is too short. But I want to respect your time. So what I'll do is one by one, we'll say our goodbyes. We're going to say our goodbye to David. We're going to go to David first on our goodbyes. David, This has been epic. This has been incredibly fun. I want to know what we can do to support you as a thanks to you. I want everybody right now, whatever David says we should do as a thank you. If you enjoyed this time with David, let's support him. So what can we do?
As a thank you, I just believe that people should practice more. Everybody needs to know their stories. Everyone absolutely needs to know their stories. And so many people don't allow their story to come out, but they have an amazing story to tell. Every time we go online and every time I go onto YouTube or LinkedIn and hearing different people telling their experience about what they've done, it has been, absolutely amazing for me to be able to see that. And one of the things I'm going to do is, if I can throw it out here, I'm on my LinkedIn. I'm going to put a special offer out to a couple of people who can be trained by myself. I'm willing to do a what I call an isolation discount to make sure that people can do that. But for me, it's to bring your story, to practice your breathing, to think about your posture, but to be authentically you and to tell your story, because your story needs to be heard.
Yeah, I love that, and thank you so much for giving up, some of that free coaching to the audience. And I tell you what, David, I was not joking at all about your voice. I think it is incredible. If you ever decide to to voice, bedtime stories, anything it is, I am the first in line to get this. I went to sleep listening to your voice last night. I don't know if that's creepy.
I feel blessed.
That may sound a little creepy, actually.
No, it's all good, man. It's all good. All
right, good stuff. Your wife. Look forward to us getting together. Mm-hmm. Stay safe. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, guys. That was my man, David McQueen. Let's pull on Kit. Let's pull on Kit.
Hey, Paul, that was a little bit creepy. Nah, just joking, man.
Kit, thank you. I've seen several people on LinkedIn and Facebook talk about they love how observant Kit is, and I find that to be you seem to be very observant, man. Next level observant.
Yeah, I think it's an Asian thing. I'm not sure. I think it's an Asian thing. No, I think I've gotten into, when I got into speaking, the first thing that I taught was listening, because I think listening is one of the most important things to make us all successful personally and professionally. But yeah.
There you go. So I tell you what, this has been amazing. I have some info up about you. How can we support you?
Well, first, I want to say thank you, Paul, to you for bringing us all together. This was a really fun virtual panel. And I want to say thank you to David and Terri-Karelle on the other side over there. So thank you all for popping on. I want to be very selfish, and if I may, ask for all of your help, whether you're on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. There's been something that I've been trying to do for the past year, and I want to get access to LinkedIn Live. And I'm being really serious. I got rejected one time, and I sent out a few more requests like a year and a few months ago. But I've been trying really hard, because one of the best things I want to do is to go on video more on LinkedIn. But I feel like I'm in a box because I just can't do it. So if you have any connections to anyone that you know on LinkedIn Live on their team, please feel free to message me, connect with me on LinkedIn. We'd love to chat with you. But if you would love to continue the conversation, the best place to connect with me is on LinkedIn. I'm trying to go away from Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and all that stuff. But thank you for watching today.
Yeah, Kit, I think you're going to have a lot of people in your inbox talking about how can we help you. Kit, I think, and I love that. And that wasn't being selfish at all. I think that was being vulnerable. And that's asking for help. I think asking for help is actually being self-aware. It's being courageous. So thank you very much, man. I really enjoyed this. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone.
Right. Everybody say goodbye to Kit. Goodbye to Kit. All right. Last but not least, we've got Terri-Karelle. Here she is.
You know that when you leave me for last, the other two guys, David nailed it. And then Kit was like, be a listener. I was like, oh.
What do you say? You know what you should do? You should just point to the orange wall. You should just be like, look at this. That's all I have to say.
If there's one thing that I would probably tell everyone, because of insecurities, we tend to look in the space. We tend to look at other persons. We tend to compare ourselves to other people, and we assess ourselves based on other persons. And what I would say is, whether you're doing video or anything at all, if you're going to communicate, nobody can communicate your story, your pain point, or your solution to a problem in the manner that you can. So what I want you to do is focus on your lane, focus on your value, focus on your image. Don't try to look like anyone, be like anyone, or sound like anyone. And the more you put it out there and the more you practice is the better you will be. Don't be afraid to be vulnerable. If you're going on video for the first time, it's okay to say, guys, this is my very first video and I'm really nervous, but I'm gonna try it. And what you'll realize is that more people in the space will be happy to cheer you on and lead you on. So just be okay, breathe, take your time, and do not compare yourself to anyone in the space.
Yeah. Terry, how can we support you? What can we do to support you?
Well, you guys can follow me on my journey. A lot of persons have now come to me to ask me, how do I master storytelling? They've realized that from my captions and my videos that I build a story very well. And so I will actually start, and people can send me messages. I will start assisting people and helping to train people of how to really build that brand online and tell that story in a very relatable and authentic manner.
Okay, there you go. So let's all follow Terri-Karelle. Terry, I'm gonna tell you what, the orange wall is infamous now.
It's infamous. I'm gonna have a podcast called The Orange Wall. Crazy.
Crazy. I tell you what, thank you very much. This has been phenomenal. I know everyone is going to support you. I know we all learned quite a bit. So thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having us, and be safe. And to all of the persons in your in your LinkedIn village or Insta village, we just wish them and their family just be safe, stay in, socially distance, wear your masks, and we just pray that this whole thing will pass and that whatever problems they might be going through, they'll be able to recover on the other side.
Amen. Amen. Thank you.
No problem. Bye, guys. All the best.
Bye. Everybody say bye to Terri-Karelle. That was what can I say? At the end of this, I always like, actually, real quick, Kit, let me tell you, my man, Tony Alexander just mentioned that one of his mentees can help you. I think he's connected or works at LinkedIn, etc. But Tony Alexander, I'm sure Tony is going to reach out to you. That's the power of the village, guys. Just like that, Kit. Just like that, baby. Just like that. So Tony, yeah, Kit, hold on. Kit is still here.
No, thank you, Tony. Paul, thank you. Tony, let's connect on LinkedIn or Facebook. But Paul, again, thank you again for just bringing us all together. This was fun.
You got it. Good stuff. Thank you. All right. There you go. That's the power. I want to remind everyone about what we were talking about in the beginning, and that's actually what you just saw happen. So if there's a skill that you can share, right, that you want to share for free, whether that be something that you've experienced, you've been dibbling and dabbling in social media for just, a few months, or it's a skill that you have 10 years of experience or more in, I want you to go to bit.ly better Skillshare and input what you can do to help another entrepreneur. And then what I'm going to do is every week I'll be collecting people who want to Skillshare. And then every week I'll be farming that out to entrepreneurs in need all over the world. This is a project I'm super excited about, and I can see already, it's funny, I could actually see responses coming in as we've been doing this. I love this. If you loved it, if you thought this was an okay session, put yes, Paul, it was okay. If you thought this was a bad session, go ahead and put in bad. If you thought this was great, I want to see a hell yeah in the comments real quick before we go. If it was great, I want to see a hell yeah. If it was okay, I want to see a okay. If it was bad, I want to see a bad. I just want to see how folks are feeling right now. I like to do a temperature check. I see my sis says, Latoya Deshawn says, it was hell yeah. Karen Push says it was phenomenal. Prita says it was incredible. I can't even keep up. I can't. Well, hold on. Hell, I see a lot of hells. I don't know if that's a good thing. I see a lot of hells. Let me go to LinkedIn real quick. My sister Naomi says phenomenal. Vance says, I'd love to say forward. I don't know it. Vance, hit me back on that. I don't know. I see great. I see bomb. I see my man Richard says it was great, Paul. Wow. That's what I like to see. That's what I like to see. I want everyone to stay blessed, as Terri-Karelle said. Remember, we are stronger together. The whole purpose of us doing these lockdown lives is so that we can be better when we get on the other side of this, right? We want to be better than the people we were when we entered lockdown. We'll continue to do this every Monday and Friday until lockdowns are over. Let me throw this up. And if you are interested in watching the replay, obviously the replay is going to be available immediately. God bless. Everyone have a wonderful weekend. And I will see you on Monday at 12 noon Eastern Standard Time. You guys take care. Bye-bye. I'll see you. Bye-bye.